I saw a video the other day that was like, we should be able to opt out of invasions. And for as popular as Elden Ring has been, that has been a very quiet opinion compared to how loud it was in Dark Souls 3. So, quote, why do people invade? There's a bunch of different reasons, but at the end of the day, it's basically just, hey, I'm here to beat the host, right? I'm here to kill the host. It doesn't matter how. As long as the host dies, I get my reward. And so, that's the long and short of it. The actual answer, I think, I have to believe, is that because it's fun. It's fun for me, and I know it's fun for a bunch of other people, because I stream and I do invasions, and people are like, wee, haha, we're having a good time, this is fun, this is silly. This is the only game type from software games. A few other games have kind of started to try it, but this is really the only game where you can do these types of shenanigans. And, it rules. There's a bunch of different ways that people play this game, and you, as the invader, sort of have to adapt your game plan to what they're doing. If somebody's goofing off and running around because they want to join the Munchkin Man's army, and, it's just a silly little guy, it's just a silly little invasion with a silly little whatever. If you're trying to get, highlight clips so that you can have, the slick double parry followed up by another parry montage. You can go for that, right? Or you can just be a guy who's in it to John Rambo this stuff and try and beat multiple players as they hopefully progress through a level. A lot of the times it feels like they're not trying to progress through the level, but it is what it is. We have tools that allow us to sort of make you move a little bit, hopefully, if all things go right. And the hosts have, in theory, a group of blue players that they can call upon that can help them break a stalemate against an invader who is not just blindly walking into the two-man blender. Why do you not walk into the two-man blender? The video that I saw that said, you should be able to opt out of invasions. They were like, when an invader is outplayed, quote unquote, they'll run behind mobs. Yes, when a single player is outplayed by an invader, they'll run to their friend. Yes, that's how it works. That's the game. Congratulations, we've figured it out. And that's okay. That's the point. But the idea that you should be able to opt out of invasions, why is that a dumb idea? It's a dumb idea because then it's not invasions, is it? It's invitations, right? You told me I could come. That's not an invasion. Literally, by definition, not an invasion. Instead, an invitation. You have invited me. You've told me that it's okay I'm welcome. I can show up here. The entire idea is that, it sucks. You don't want to get invaded. I can't tell you how heartbreaking it is for me when I invade a group of people and they're like, hey, hi, and they're like they're happy to see me. I don't want you to be happy to see me. I want you to be absolutely horrified that I'm here. That's the desired response I'm after. And don't get this wrong, I will absolutely talk smack during an invasion, right? When I'm streaming, I will absolutely put down some trash talk, right? But it's just part of it. It's just part of the fun. I don't really hold anything against any of these players. I don't care how they play through the game. And at the end of the day, it's basically, most of the time, it's just a brief little interaction between us that happens, once a day, essentially. Very rarely do I ever invade the same group of players more than one time. Even over the course of 10 hours of invading. If I invade somebody twice, it's always noteworthy that I did that because it happens so rarely, so infrequently. The idea that you could get rid of this mechanic, there are not a ton of invaders. who are like as dedicated as myself and some others are. There's not a lot of us, but there are enough people who understand that this is an interesting mechanic that doesn't exist in a lot of other games. And so the idea of getting rid of it just seems like, why? Why would we, like, you know what? This game has something that no other game offers. Let's get rid of it. That's just, I don't know. I don't know any other, I'm trying to be nice, trying to choose my words carefully, but that's just stupid. I'm sorry. I can't think of any other word to say. It would be dumb to remove this mechanic that only exists here. It's a beautiful mechanic. Win, lose, or draw. It's a beautiful mechanic if you are willing to take a step back and appreciate what has happened as it happens. It's hard to win invasions, and I think a lot of players know that. I think that one of the reasons you don't see more people invade is because they view every invasion as a quote-unquote gank squad, right? That's not really what's happening. You're just invading average co-opers, but average co-opers are now dangerous enough that, you know, they stand a chance. They can beat you. Regardless of whether, like, I put thousands and thousands of hours into this. I can absolutely be beaten by any random combination of Kevin, Timmy, and Bubba. They can absolutely stomp me. All it takes is, like, a wall. People are like, invaders don't post their losses. I understand the desire to see people post their losses on stuff, especially fighting games. It's interesting to see a good player lose. But in the case of invasions, 90% of your losses will come from you accidentally running into a wall you didn't see, having a guy behind you that you didn't see. It's always the same thing. And that's fine. That's intended. That's what's supposed to happen. That's invasions, right? In the moment, you might get frustrated at it. But, you know, if you're willing to take a step back and look at the bigger picture, that's the point. Maybe you didn't get to win that one, right? But, and this goes for either side, invader or co-opper. Maybe you didn't get to win that one, right? But you can see how, from the other perspective, they probably, the people that won it, they probably had a blast. They probably loved it. Whether or not it was 3 idiots, you know, who ran you up against a tree that you didn't see, or a pillar, or a wall that you didn't see. You run into that, and then they kill you. To them, and then they're all like teabagging you, and like, you know, to them, that's hilarious. Right? So it brought joy to the players, and it brought joy to the biggest number of players. Right? At the time. Those 3 players, they felt the greatest amount of joy. Now, when an invader or a content creator like myself gets an invasion where they fight 3 dudes at meta level in like a very early game dungeon, and I win, and I post that, and 1,000 people are like, hey, this rules, that was great, you know, then it brings a large amount of joy to a larger number of players, because other players can watch this and sort of vicariously enjoy it, even though they weren't there in the moment. But I assure you, in the moment, I was hyped. I was having a blast. And that's, like I said, that's the number 1 reason. Why do invasions? Because it's fun. It's just a goofy little time. If you like Elden Ring as much as I do, and a lot of us do, it's just more Elden Ring to play. That doesn't mean I ever expect From Software to, like, perfectly balance one of their 100-hour-long action role-playing games as a player versus player game. I think that there's things that they could get better at, and they do get better at it. They have made steps in every game, like the netcode gets better, things like that. And they're always, like, testing new things and new mechanics and new ways to do these things in every iteration of the game. So they're always trying, and they're always learning stuff, and that's cool. But I never expect, you know, a fighting game tier experience from a game that is meant to be played as a mainly one-player 100-hour long RPG, right? It seems absurd to me to want to expect that. Like, I don't understand, but that's neither here nor there. That's not what this is. If you want that, it exists. You can play games that are balanced around PvP, where PvP is the center of the game. And there are even, melee, martial combat focused, sword fighting, whatever type games that do that. There's probably nothing that combines as many things as Elden Ring or Dark Souls. But again, the more things you have to balance, the less it's ever going to be balanced. You have so much, you have so many options. You have so much stuff that you can play with. And this is where, I've kind of talked a little bit to the other invaders. It's like the idea that you're playing with, all the best stuff, you have to have all the best stuff to win. 90% of my opponents are just, average, regular co-op people, even at meta level. And then even the ones who are, trying to gank or whatever, 60% of them are still terrible, right? But having said that, on the other side, I feel like the hosts feel like, oh, the invaders only use the try-hard meta stuff. And it's like, I don't think you know what the try-hard meta stuff is, honestly, if you think most players are running it. But why invade? Because it's fun. Should we get rid of invasions? No, shut up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Later, y'all.